Welcome to the walkthrough of Assignment 1 for my CS5253 class in the fall of 2023. First, make sure to comment your code thoroughly or it will not be reviewed. Take a look at this link for instructions on how to comment your code. Please also make a good faith effort to complete your solution or it will not be reviewed. Now let's take a look at some issues I saw. First, make sure that you're using the common fork join pool in the perform crawl method. This, by the way, is the only place you should have any fork join pool be used explicitly. That's just the way that the fork join pool works. Once you start a task that runs within it, all the other tasks that are created will also run within that pool. Also, make sure that you replace the following two calls to fork and join with a single call to invoke. Let's take a look at some other issues with perform crawl. Once again, do not create a new fork join pool. That's not the common fork join pool. The specification makes it very clear that you need to use the common fork join pool. Likewise, don't call shutdown on a pool, especially not the common fork join pool, because it's unnecessary and you shouldn't need to do that. Here's yet another issue. So don't go ahead and do something odd like this where you're invoking things properly with the common pool. However, then for some strange reason, you're using main task.get. That's unnecessary. Invoke is a two-way call. Simply return the result of calling invoke here. And you definitely don't need to use any try-catch statements in your solution. Down here, please get in the habit of not creating a local variable and then immediately returning it. Just return the call to the constructor to create that object. Much cleaner way to do things, less confusing. Down here, don't write your code out longhand like this, but instead use the rethrow function adapter together with the URL new constructor reference. Down here, similar type of thing. You don't need to write code like this using a lambda expression. Just use the constructor reference format instead. Down here, there's no need to create a count. If you implement this method correctly, you don't need the local variable count. Here, make sure that you're using the appropriate factory method rather than allocating a new process image task object directly. And also, you need to make sure that you create, fork, and add a URL crawler task here using the make URL crawler task factor method rather than what's going on here, which is not running in the context of the fork join framework whatsoever. And down here, since you don't need the count method, you can just say return some count forks. Let's take a look at call-in managed blocker. You can simplify this quite a bit by removing all the other stuff like the open curly brace and the close curly brace and so on and so forth, and just making a call to return, or not even return, just make a call to download image. That'll get all handled properly by the lambda expression if you do it right. Down here, don't use contains since that's not thread safe. Instead, you want to use the add atomic check then act method here instead of contains. And then you want to check that the return value is true. And only if it's true will you then go ahead and call crawl page. This call here is in the wrong place. You're not checking the result of add, so you're not getting the benefits of the atomic check then act behavior. Down here, you need to make sure that any blocking calls that you invoke are called in the context of the call-in managed blocker helper method. This is not being done here. Down here, there's no need to use a try-catch block. It's unnecessary. You don't need to recheck whether depth is greater than max depth here yet again. In this case, don't put the entire statement here inside of call-in managed blocker. Only do the call that blocks, which is the call to get page. The other parts don't block. And of course, you can get rid of the try-catch block. Down here, this code is not handling the image elements correctly. It's just doing the behavior for pages. You need to make sure that you handle images correctly. You got to think about that. That's part of the assignment to figure out what it's doing. Once again, do not use a specially created fork join pool. Use the common fork join pool instead, and only use it in perform crawl. Does not need to be used anywhere else. Down here, please make sure that you integrate the calls to fork within the loop up here when you create the corresponding tasks, either the process image task or the URL crawler task. Don't put it down in a separate loop. That's unnecessary and causes extra work. Please make sure you use the method reference here instead of a lambda expression, and also make sure to check for null before you call transform image. Here we're having an errant call to create new cached image. Create new cache image doesn't belong here. It belongs down further below in perform transform task.compute. I don't know why invoke all is being called here, but you definitely do not need to call invoke all. All the code has been forked already in the transform image method above, so this code doesn't belong here. And please don't use Java streams in this assignment as per the instructions. You'll have plenty of chances to use streams later in assignment 2. Please get in the habit of using image count plus plus or plus plus image count, not image count plus equal 1. That's unnecessarily verbose. You don't need this field here at all in perform transform task. And the logic is backwards here. First, you need to call create new cache item. And then if depending on what comes back from that, then you'll call apply transform, and then make sure you return the result of calling apply transform. Here's another issue where first you need to make sure you call create new cache item before calling apply transform, and you want to return the result of calling apply transform. So those were some of the issues I saw when I looked at the code. I will post this video and you'll get a chance to revise your code. Please make sure that you test it carefully and make sure that you look at it visually to ensure it's addressing all the issues that are described in this video.